Prem Namaste, Vanagam, and welcome to another action-packed sadhana episode where we feed your spirits and tempt your taste buds. Yes, Thigam Nathoo is back this week with an all-time favorite, and we celebrate God with the Brahma Kumaris in Phoenix. But first, we pay homage to the divinity enshrined at the Glencoe Hindu temple. The tiny town of Glencoe in Northen Natal was formed after coal was discovered in nearby Dundee. It was coal too that brought the indentured Indians to the area as mine workers. The tiny but united Hindu community constructed a place of worship near the Burnside coal mines in the 1950s. The temple served as an important forum for religious and cultural expression and was later moved to Glencoe in 1969. Sadhana visited this quaint dorpi where the Glencoe Hindu temple still stands tall and proud.
It is almost unimaginable that the tranquil, picturesque beauty of northern KwaZulu-Natal was once the focal point of major battles between Zulu, Boer and British forces. Development brought the Indian indentured labourers, and today the dilapidated red brick buildings talk of an era long gone by. It was here, at the Burnside estate, that thousands of Indian labourers were brought to work in the coal mines.
Indian population in Burnside was, I can tell you this much, they used to call it second Durban. That's how the population was quite a bit. And the people lived in the barracks, they lived along the, in the farms. People lived in the barracks, they were very simple, dedicated to prayers. They did all the prayers that they could think. They lived in harmony with whether they were Hindus, Tamil, Muslims, all were there. And they lived happily.
They worked in the mine, coal mine, most of the people, underground. My father worked in underground. My mother used to be a housewife, and they had farms selling vegetables, and they used to sell. That's how we were brought up.
Anybody who talks will talk about Burnside days. Those were the good old days, very fabulous days.
Filled with a sense of nostalgia, this small group of former residents returned back to their place of birth with a special pilgrimage to the original Glencoe Hindu temple. The strong building was constructed by their indentured forebearers who saw the need for places of worship even in a foreign land.
It was a small temple, but it was a brick-built temple in the middle of where the Indian community used to be. People were surrounded. The temple was in the middle.
There's a calling when you go, even if you pass the temple, there's a calling. You want to get out of the car and you want to run there. You want to see what's there.
It was just a stone structure. They had the Mariman temple, that was a small temple, and then the main temple where they had the Muruga's murti as well. It was just a stone. So there was Kavadi prayers that was done there and the Mariman prayer as well.
My father has molded a murti in this temple here. He did collect old newspapers. When he collected, we were quite young, and he used to collect newspapers, and he used to soak it, and he used to mold it. When he molded that, he used to stamp it and mold and made a murti.
Major Hindu festivals were celebrated in grand style at the temple. Thousands of devotees from the northern regions streamed into the temples during these festivals to offer their worship too.
A big festival, the Kavadi festival, used to take place at Burnside. There's a river nearby, and we used to have gathering of about 2,000 or 3,000 people from different towns. Newcastle, Danhouse, Glencoe, Ladysmith, Washbank, Omdry, quite a bit.
So I carried Kavadi. We used to come to walk from the mine to a river. It's about I'd say about 2 kilometers. And we used to go and carry Kavadis.
The unity, joy and love were short-lived after the local community was displaced following the closure of the mines. This saw members moving to different towns in search of new employment and homes, and, evidently, a new place of worship.
When the mines closed and we moved to Glencoe, there was no temple in Glencoe. That was in 65. There was no temple in Glencoe.
There was an old hospital. So there they made a small temple. So we carried on there, worshipping just as what the previous time they used to. After that, they moved to Glencoe. Then after that, they had to move back to Attinsburg. There was some people who gave us a little place that they can build. They just had a tin shanty, and they was worshipping there. After that, this came back to Glencoe, and today here stands the temple.
They had stones in Burnside, meaning that we had no murtis. And when they closed off the temple, they came with the Ganesha that's still here, and the remaining murtis were paper mache. But it was difficult to do abhishekam of paper mache. So as kids with the Tamil school, we raised funds by having shows, dances, and then we bought the first set of murtis. So we replaced all the murtis at that time.
We observe all the prayers, the Kavadi, then the Ramayan week, and Hanuman Jayanti, and then it comes to fire walking after that. And we also do Chitra Kavadi, but not in a big way. And then it's the Navaratri prayer. We observe that as well.
When we met Guru Krishnamurti, he explained the significance of the granite murtis. And we took a step forward and decided, okay, we'll have these murtis, we'll install these murtis in the temple. So we had a Kumbha Abhishekam on the 27th of January. And in this area, Glencoe Temple's the only temple that's got a Kumbha Kalasam now. The power passes through the Kumbha Kalasam through the dome to the murtis. So we're giving energy to the murtis. We are charging them, in other words.
Though split up, the heart of the Burnside Estate Hindu community still beat with a united pulse. Deeply rooted in the foundations laid by those before them, the current generation holds on proudly to their rich heritage and traditions.
Welcome back. As the wintry months slowly creep in, so do the cravings for those tasty homemade treats that have been passed on for generations. Often served as a popular Indian dessert or even as prasadam, paisa, also known as vermicelli, has been a favorite in many Indian homes, and Thigam Nathoo's is no exception.
Vanakkam, Namaste and welcome. Today I'm going to make pavasam, which is a very rich, milky dessert. Now some people say payasam, some say pavasam. Whatever you want to call it, it still tastes lovely and rich. 1 cup vermicelli, butter, ilachi pods, cinnamon sticks, ground ilachi, milk, saffron, 1 cup sago, sugar. Now what I've done is ahead of time, I have soaked the sago in some water, and this is what I've got. This is the starch that will break down in the pavasam when it's on the stove. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our stove, we're going to switch it on, put our butter in, let the butter melt, add a cinnamon stick, and then I'm going to put the sago in. At this point, the butter's melted quite enough for me to now add the sago and the vermicelli. But I'm going to put the vermicelli first. I'm then going to saute it till it gets nice and golden in color, and then I will add my sago. What I'm doing now is I am toasting the vermicelli till it gets nice and golden brown, and that's when I'm going to add my sago. This sago was soaked in water. We have drained it. There's a little bit of water still left in it, but don't worry about it because we are supposed to add water anyway. That goes into the pot. And I'm just going to scrape all the last bits in because we do want all that sago. And I'm going to give it a good stir. You can see that the vermicelli has browned a bit now. And at this point, I'm going to remove it from the heat because I want to add my boiling water. We now let all that vermicelli and sago blend in with the water, and this hot water is now going to help the sago and the vermicelli to cook down. You will notice that the sauce is already thickened. The vermicelli and the sago and the water have together formed a nice thick sauce. And at this point, we're going to add our milk. I'll pour the milk in. We're using full cream milk. We want nice, rich pavasam. I'm going to put the lid on and give it at least a minute or two for the milk, the vermicelli, and the sago to all incorporate well. Once that's done, then I'll add the sugar and the ilachi. So at this point, I'm going to add the sugar. While this is thickening up, I'm going to add the ilachi and a little bit of saffron. I'm going to just put the lid on for a few minutes, and we're going to let that thicken a little bit more. The oil is now nice and hot, so I'm going to put my papadum in. And our papad is done. What I'm going to do now is, the papad is done, the pavasam is done, we can plate up.
You are watching Sadhana on 3. The Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual University is an organization dedicated to the cultivation of higher values and spirituality in society. We joined the group in Phoenix for their program entitled Celebrating God, a festival of hope, peace, and happiness.
Brahma Kumari's has a program which is dedicated to world peace every month.
There's a dire need for programs that offer support, offer hope, help people to re-establish peace.
And we took the opportunity to create some awareness of how knowing God and connecting with God can be the solution to the problems in our community.
Essentially, it's an aspect of knowledge that we share. You know, where we look at methods and means to reflect, understand oneself, but also just to understand our spirituality.
Just like you have a mother, a father, you're consulting with them all the time, you're chatting with them, you're using them, you go out with them, and that kind of thing gives you strength and support. And God is actually the parent of the spiritual self. We see ourselves not only as bodies, but that within this physical body there's a beautiful being of energy, and this energy is the child of the Supreme.
And so the activities that were planned for the day and that we did for that day was basically, you know, we had meditation sessions, we had movement and meditation sessions.
So our program was really entitled Celebrating God, a festival of hope, peace and happiness.
You can see how anger is the root of suffering, beginning from the self to destruction of relationships, destruction and social disintegration.
And so we thought, you know, if you make this event have a bit of entertainment but edutainment type, then people are more likely to take to it.
It was called a festival, and they had so many different activities. It gave people an opportunity to come in. I think normally when we do our activities, it's normally a lecture, and I think people don't always just want to listen. And so the fact that it was a festival and there was things for everyone, we had a very beautiful collection of individuals that came. What touched my heart was that it was, because it was within the Phoenix community, people could walk and come. And so it really became something accessible to everyone.
And then for the kids, there were things like a creative session, looking at topics that were relevant to them, and how they could use meditation and express themselves through their creative methods, I think, as well.
A lot of the people changed their attitude about just the lectures, because when they sat in, they realized it wasn't somebody just talking to them. It was actually them having an experience. We invited live music, and that's where Katagason was part of that, where they rendered music. And what happened is that some of the hymns in the vernacular has very good vibration. Like even if one chanted Om, you'd actually see that it creates a vibration. And so it was very beautiful not only to use physical music of musical instruments, but to use the voice as also an instrument and allow that voice to create the sound which allowed the mind to become peaceful.
A quote by the Brahma Kumaris goes as follows: "Thank you, Lord, for life, for love, for family, for friends, and for especially knowing you. Our lives are truly enriched through the goodness we surround ourselves by. Until next time, keep up your sadhana. Om Shanti."